Welcome to Mediocre Gaming, and today we're playing World of Warships Legends. Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and salutations. Today, to battle. Let's get to it. Battleships are the big mamma jammas of World of Warships. They are one of three classes, and if the cruiser is the jack of all trades and the destroyer is the scout, then the battleship is the tank. Battleships have the largest pool of hit points of any other ship, as well as the hardest armor, or the thickest armor. In addition to that, their shells per shell do more damage than any other shell in the game. Now, as the inverse of that, or what they're not so great at, they're very slow, they turn very slowly, and the reload time for all their guns is very long. They have a very long reload compared to cruiser guns and or destroyer guns. So battleships are best at long range against other ships. Now, in general, as a battleship, you're going to be using AP shells, but you don't have to. AP shells tend to do more damage than HE shells. If you have a higher chance of setting fire to another ship, HE shells may be for you. So depending on the ship or the tier ship or the country, depending on all that, you may decide to go with HE shells other than AP shells. Although 80% of the time, I would say you're probably going to use AP shells while using a battleship. Now, the perks on a battleship range a little bit. Some of them have enhanced secondary turrets. Some have fighter planes that they can launch. Most of them, in addition to damage control, they also have a repair party. This will give you a chance to regain some of the health that you've lost, or some of the HP. Now, since battleships tend to be slower and turn slower, you have to be very deliberate and think ahead in terms of where you're going or where you need to be. Now, in general, you will be staying further back from the front lines than either destroyers or cruisers. However, there will be times where you need to get closer to the front of the line or be in a certain place at a certain time. And battleships, you always have to plan where you're going to be and which direction your guns will face, because it will take you a good 30 seconds for the guns to rotate from one side to the other. Now, sometimes it's good to be a battleship up in open water, further from the main battle, so that you only have maybe a couple of ships in range, so that the fear of retribution is relatively low. So instead of having half of the ship shooting at you, which would be really bad, you may only have one or two. Other times you may want to be behind an island where you're only poking out a little bit. That will reduce your visibility, and it will reduce the number of ships that can shoot back at you. Now, depending on your commander perks and the perks that you choose for your ship, especially in the higher tier ships, that may determine whether you're going to sit further back or be a little bit closer to the battle itself. Because if you choose dispersion, better dispersion or less dispersion of shells, so they're grouped together a little bit more, over, say, enhanced secondary turrets, which will increase their range, of course you're going to be further back. If you choose the enhanced secondary turrets, you're going to be closer to the front of the battle, because you're going to want to use those perks to your advantage. Now, one of the things to note when using AP shells, whether it's a battleship or one of the other ships, is that you're not aiming for the top of the ship, but rather the bottom of the ship. You're shooting for the citadel, you're shooting for below the deck, and that will do the most damage, versus HE shells where you want to hit the top of the deck, the superstructure, the turrets, and the towers, and all of that stuff, because that will give a higher chance of incapacitating those things on the ship. Now, the biggest thing with battleships, or any ship really, is getting to know the particular ship that you're using. So not just battleships in general, but rather the type or specific type of battleship, not just the country, but also the specific ship that you're using. So if you're using the New Mexico, then learn how to use the New Mexico versus one of the other battleships. Because all the battleships are slightly different from each other, you need to use what that battleship is good at to make full advantage of the combat situation at hand. And that's it. I hope you enjoyed this video. Be sure to check us out on social media, and thank you for liking, commenting, and subscribing. And we'll see you next time. Yep.
Attention, reporting a target's position.
This guy, I thought he was all cool, and then I got him with 2 Citadel hits and a volley. Forty-seven secondary hits and 4 Citadel hits. That's crazy.
Capturez cette zone.
Your face! And what happened? Didn't have a single person next to me that was on my team.
Coéquipier, j'ai besoin d'assistance.
Like at the beginning, I had a destroyer that was close, but that was it. Then he got taken out because he got too close to one of the cruisers.